Seen it, seen it, seen it, seen it, not seen it, seen it, seen it, seen it.
Granted, we're in the midst of national and personal tragedies.
Yeah.
But out of the ashes of such things, a logo rises.
Maybe record another episode with Sex Crotch, right?
Yes. Oh, man. I can't wait for that to be a hashtag. There he is.
Hey, man, how's it going?
I am okay. How are you, sir?
I am fantastic. Fantastic.
Outstanding.
So how's life, man? How's things going?
Well, I mean, it's been a fucked up few weeks or week. Yeah, week for me personally, politically, whatever. But then, you know, collectively, the two of us as a unit, it's been a bad month.
It has been a bad month, man. Like, fucking crazy. So, yeah, like, well, Trump won.
Yeah.
So that sucks. Man, does that suck.
Yeah, that sucks for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really having a hard time, like, swallowing this. Like, we need to just like give him a chance, and like it's over now, so we should just accept it. And like, no, to hell with that. Like, he did not win the popular vote. First off,
not even close.
not even anywhere close, right? And then, yeah, no, he is not fit to be our president. I'm not accepting this. Like, we need to just give him a chance and stop being partisan. Listen, Republicans, you spent the last 8 years being as partisan as you absolutely could be. So don't just think that we're just going to suck it up and like, no. Oh, man.
I'm right there with you. So, I appreciate your outrage.
Yeah. And then you're just like, well, I said on like when on election night, when we realized it was going that way, I was like, you know, the worst part about this is we're going to have to deal with all the smug sons of bitches who are going to be like, see, like he won and he was like supposed to be our president, and like, and like rubbing it in our faces and like all that shit. Man, there's so much, just so, yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's just been the last week. So we're talking now. That'll be long gone in the... Well, not, you know what? I was going to say that'll be long past in the public consciousness by the time someone would hear this, but I'm sure that's not true. Maybe just date-wise.
Yeah, just date. I mean, he'll probably have been inaugurated by the time this finally makes it out, right?
Yeah,
do you believe that? Like, that we have to even like talk about that? Like, I
know. It was
so crazy. So...
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it's been...
crazy.
I have been in a bit of a haze about that. And most people I know are in some stage of like, essentially like the grieving process.
Yeah. A nice segue too.
Yeah. Or appropriate, I suppose.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
So the like continuation, and only because we've been talking about it in other episodes and everything. My father passed away, which is a pisser because he had beat his cancer and was in like full remission and had a heart attack.
Is that what it was? Oh my God.
Yeah. So, had a massive heart attack and died right next to my stepmom, I guess. So happened really early in the morning on that Wednesday that it happened. It's been a while now already. So, yeah, so that sucked.
Yeah.
To say the least. For anybody that knows me personally and knows my father, like my father was an amazing person. I'm not going to deny that. And he and I had a weird relationship, to say the least. Like, I love my father. I know he loved me, but we didn't always get along the best, and didn't always. It was just unique. There's no other way to say it, and but it still sucks.
Okay.
And my, like, still is awful. And my sister reminded me, my mom actually had been cleared of her cancer as well and had a heart attack. Like, so both of my
Oh my
parents
God.
beat cancer and had heart attacks after, like, in the recovery process after doing that. So yeah, just sucks.
Yeah. I mean,
So
obviously, I've said this, but I haven't got to say it to you, like, where you could hear my voice and stuff. I'm so very sorry for
yeah,
your, I've been trying to kind of say, I hate that expression, sorry for your loss. I don't know if we've talked about that, but it seems to connotate this like thing that's only bad for you. Like, it sounds like
right.
just as Dump being our president, and I'll tell you why I refuse to say his name later, but
Right.
as that's bad for everybody, your dad's passing is bad for everybody.
Yeah, no, like, my stepmom is, like, beside herself, and, like, all the people that were there, like, they all had, like, stories about my dad. And he had this, like, amazing friend who came out from Missouri, who had, I mean, this was, like, heartbreaking. So my father was not a very religious person, but this man was a minister, and he said he had made my dad promise that if anything ever happened, I get to do your eulogy. And my dad told Isaac, he's like, of course. And you can do my eulogy. And so Isaac, like, told this while he was giving the eulogy. He's like, a week ago, Henry and I prayed about God coming and, like, taking the cancer and doing that. I guess it would have been longer than a week at that point, but he said, I learned one thing is, like, I need to pray for everything and not just, like, the one specific thing. And it's like, how terrible is that like, this man's friend, like, he prayed to, like, take care of the cancer, and he did that, and now he's questioning about his faith, what he did with my father, because it was a heart attack that took him, and now he's questioning that, and, like, has to like, feels like he is even pseudo responsible, like, because he didn't pray for everything to, like, protect my father. So
Every possible contingency of a human tragedy. That's so terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, and you're right. It is, like, so sorry for everyone's loss. Like, that sucks. It just sucks. Like, there's just no other way around it. And yeah.
I mean, it's literally among the very worst things that can and will happen to all of us. It's like losing loved ones, which I have somehow at this stage in my life. I've lost grandparents with whom I wasn't very close. I haven't had that kick in the nuts personally, somehow. And God damn, if you haven't had it twice now. Maybe more than I know of, but, like, with your mom and dad, and especially this same tragic way.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not, I mean, of course, going through it sucks. And, like, the part that I hate is I still do this with my mom, is where it's much more infrequent now than it was when it first happened. But just, like, oh my gosh, you haven't talked to mom in a while, like, you should call her, you're a terrible son,
Oh wow.
And, like, stuff like that. And you have no idea how many times that has popped into my head, even now, for my dad. And it's like, Jesus, am I gonna have to spend the rest of my life, like, doing that now for both of my parents, where I like, feel like I'm a terrible son because I haven't talked to them in a while, and then I have to remember, oh no, they died.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I never thought of that. Wow, holy cow.
That's the part that just really that I don't like as much. So
Yeah, because it's like you forget, and then you have to kind of deal with it all over again for a minute.
yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry. I'm also like trying to finish up this logo idea that I had
Oh, well,
Jesus, we're talking about all this deep shit, and then I'm sitting here like coloring on top of it.
Oh, that's amazing. Wait, can you hold up what you're doing?
Yeah. I'm almost done.
Oh my God. This is very exciting. I'm going to enlarge my screen here so I can see it all the better. This is Long Walk Short Drink history, people. Granted, we're in the midst of national and personal tragedies, but out of the ashes of such things, a logo rises.
Yeah. So you know how and this is probably like defense mechanism too, like trying to like shift for everybody's like, what a heartless bastard, he's talking about losing his father, and he's like, no, but you got to check out this logo, dude. I'm coloring this logo. No, I mean, we'll have closure on that conversation, but I'll show you. This has been rolling around in my head for the last like 2 weeks. So on iTunes, they really recommend you should have a square logo, you know, like, so I really like, and I love, you know, our file names when we record and stuff has been LWSD, you know?
Yeah.
So I really like this idea of, can you see that right here?
Oh yeah. Oh, very cool.
So just like, I mean, that's just my sketching, but I'm thinking something like that where it's just those letters, and maybe having 4 quadrants, you know, so there might be, maybe they're black letters with white, so it looks almost like generic even. I don't know. I'll play with a couple different options, that. But I like just something simple like that.
Yeah, I think that's strong. And then I was thinking too, you know, or just now it occurred to me, maybe the letters can be quasi-transparent to reveal like a picture underneath of us that's only revealed by the parts that the letters show, or reversed or something, just so you know people know who they're listening to or something. And I've actually encountered, because I've been organizing data and backing data up from various hard drives, about 4 terabytes of stuff over the last few years that I really just kind of finished. And I've come across some photos of us recently. There's the one that took when we saw each other last summer that I had earmarked for something perhaps to do with the podcast. And then I found one of us from like my first wedding in 2003, which sad thing in general now, I suppose, but a really nice picture of us.
Yeah.
And a couple other ones, one from after a show where I'm all sweaty. And so that occurred to me too with the 4 quadrants. If it, you know, something like you barely see, but if you're paying close attention, you could see us over the courses of our friendship over the years. No,
that might work, because I mean the letters could definitely be a little fatter even, or no, I like that, but I've seen the like, I like the letters LWSD. I like the way that they sound when you like when you say them, LWSD. And I you know that Gorillaz album where it's like, which I think is like a take on the Beatles album, where it's like just the 4 members, you know.
Oh yeah. I was gonna look it up, but I can picture it.
Stranger Days, I think, is the name of that Gorillaz album.
That's on one of your one of the songs from that is on one of your WPLMR mixes, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think that's why I knew that. I can't remember what the title is now.
Strange Day.
Oh, there it is. I'm looking at it. Yeah, it's oh, cool. Oh, sure. Yeah, like they're kind of upside. One of them's upside down. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You know what I ended up finding is it's a Stranger Things knockoff.
Oh, gotcha.
So it's hold on just a second. I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's Demon Days is the name of it.
Demon Days, yes.
There we go. Why am I? Yeah, that's it. But like that, and then there's which Beatles album is that? Let It Be, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, that one I can. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think the Gorillaz thing is a takeoff on the.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the Let It Be. It's
Yeah.
even stronger though because this is with Faces. These two albums and
Right.
yours is the letters there. Can I see it again? Oh wait, no. I did a screen grab. I can check it out. Yeah, I like the graphics more so than even like a Face. Yeah, it's cool. It reminds me a little bit of like this is silly, like building blocks.
Yeah, no. And, I mean, and all of that is there, and it just no. I can totally see that with the letters, maybe a little more play schooly. I mean, obviously they would be like more primary colors.
Yeah,
but I just like this. I like this idea of like the contrast, like that, like harsh contrast between like the black and the white, and then yeah, I like that though. The thought of like having a texture or something in there, maybe even if it was just like, I don't know, smiles or like just like our mouths on one part of it or something. I'll mock up a few different options and we can look at them.
Oh, that's
but
great.
I like that. I like that square shape, and I like the letters a lot. So
yeah, me too. Good going.
Yeah.
It's one more step to being real, being out there in the world.
Yeah, we can check that one off my list. Like I still have my checklist here.
Oh yeah.
Watch Cyborg is the number 1 on there. And then watch Cyborg, and then artwork, and then my third one was Think About a Palmer's Pick with Ash. I think is what that was supposed to be.
That's right. Yeah.
Which we kind of did that too. So maybe we should get a plan down for that. Because I want to try to do that. Well, we did one, which I got her to watch a movie that I never thought in a million years I would ever get her to watch. And I think that it would be fun to talk to her about this movie because she really hasn't hashed it out a lot. She said she's been thinking about it a lot, but so my picks were, I picked and then she picked a movie from my 3.
Oh right, okay, yeah. You put sort of set the table or whatever, and she narrowed it down to which one of the 3.
Yeah. So she picked. So my 3 movies were V for Vendetta. Because I thought she might like that just because of all the Trump stuff that's going on, and because that's kind of like anti-government, and everything. And then Secretary with James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal, where I actually have not seen that movie.
Oh, at all?
But at all, I've never seen that, and so like it would have been a first for both of us to watch. But that's do you know what one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I like that movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a little dirty and like BDSM and and I don't even know like if that's like a huge part of the movie or what, but that's what all the trailers make it look like, is like it's just like really sexy.
Yeah,
which
it is.
The new trailer. The new trailer is like really shitty because it banks on. There's a new trailer for that movie out, and it's like the original Mr. Grey, as in 50 Shades of Grey. Like
that makes sense.
It's because I tried to find the original trailer to show Ash, and that's what came up. It was I don't know if there was an anniversary of that movie or something, but they had updated the trailer, and it talks about how it's the original Mr. Grey, and it's all the BDSM stuff, and which I was okay with because Maggie Gyllenhaal is hot. So
no, it's a really nice. It's like a really good movie, but in a way, for all what it seems to be, it's also a really nice movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, not like Amelie or something. Saccharine nice. I don't want to spoil anything for you, but so
yeah. Well, and that's part of the thing I was thinking too, is now I'll keep those other 2 movies on the list. Like this was a way that I was thinking we could do this, is so I'll keep those other two on there. Because she didn't pick those 2. She didn't pick Secretary, and she didn't pick, because I haven't revealed the one that we actually watched. The
Yeah,
one that I never thought I'd get her to watch in a million years.
Let's keep that a secret until, because I want to be surprised.
Oh, you don't even know. Okay.
No.
So you don't even want to know now.
Well,
okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I do, but.
Well, I could tell you, and then you could just beep it in this episode. It'll be like the bride's name in episode 1.
Yes.
Right? Or like Kill Bill Volume 1, right? Okay. So, but I'm not going to say it yet. So she didn't pick V for Vendetta or Secretary. So what I was thinking was, whenever we do this, the next time, so then we don't have to come up with 3 movies every time. We just from now on, I'll just have to add 1 every time it's my turn to pick the 3 movies, you know?
Yeah.
So like, we'll keep V for Vendetta and Secretary on there because I would like to still watch Secretary someday, and I would like to watch it with her because I think it creates some sexy time for us. And maybe I record another episode with Sex Crotch, right?
Right. Yes. Oh man, I can't wait for that to be a hashtag.
when I played that promo for her, she heard me say Sex Crotch, and she's like, I remember that night. I remember what night you recorded that. That was awesome. Which is either really sad because that means we only have sex like so infrequently she can pick it out and remember it, or it just, yeah. Well, anyways,
maybe there was a glint in her eyes you didn't see at the time.
Yeah, that could be. That could be.
I remember that night.
So I really like that idea of just keeping, and then so now she'll do the next one where she'll pick 3 movies, and we'll keep 2 of her movies on there and watch one of them. So then she only has to think up a new one every time.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think that would like kind of also like take the stress off of the person coming, so they don't have to come up with 3 movies every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the movie that she ended up watching was
whoa.
I know, which is like completely like out of all of those 3, I was like, Secretary's got to be a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
And then V for Vendetta is like kind of like an action-y movie, you know, and with a really great story. And I'm like, there's no way she's gonna fucking watch this. That's just not happening. Like
that would.
And she's like, so I laid all 3 of those out, and she's like, she asked me to tell her about Secretary, so we watched the trailer for that. And I think I've discovered that she is more put off by anything porn that she perceives to be pornish, right?
Oh, okay.
So like, versus things that are either horrific or gory, right?
Oh wow! So that must have been a revelation to you based on our other conversations.
Huge. Like it was huge. Like because I'm like, Secretary's got to be a no-brainer. I know she likes Maggie Gyllenhaal, and even with the like crappy like the original Mr. Grey trailer, it still like did a decent job of like showing what the movie was like. The movie at least looked intriguing in that trailer, you know?
Yeah.
And based off of what she knows versus about, she's never gonna pick that ever. She's never gonna pick. And so then she's like, okay, so tell me about again, like who's in that? And so she's like, okay. She's like, let's watch. Let's do it. And I was like, no fucking way. This is just outrageous. So I put in, and she watched the whole thing and was like, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And it had been so long since I had seen it that I wasn't like anticipating things. So I wasn't like looking at her to see how she was reacting.
Oh, right.
Stuff was because I didn't remember the beats of the movie, like where the stuff happens. And so it was, oh man, was it great. But at the end, I told her, I was like, so that meme, you know, when you see that on the internet, like, you know what that's about now. And she's like, yeah, poor. And so the only thing the most that I've heard her say about it afterwards is, well, she said she did admit like the next couple days, she's like, I've been thinking about that movie over and over and over again.
Oh, wow.
And she would say that. And then but the most I've heard her say is, I can't think about it too much or at one time, because then I just start to feel bad for character. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I totally, like, that's totally what you're supposed to feel though. Like, that's what I mean, because like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a brutal one. I know a lot about that movie. Actually, I'll save it for when. So, how do you want to? Do you want to have you guys in front of a mic talking to me, or try to record it without me present? And then,
well, and that's what we should figure out. What do you think would be most conducive? Like, if we're gonna do it as a panel, it should definitely be. We have to do a little bit of prep because all three of us should definitely have seen the movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, especially if you're going to moderate, you want to be familiar enough with the movie to be able to do that.
Yeah, and you guys want to be able to do spoilers and stuff. So that's probably a good idea anyway.
Yeah.
Unless we do it, I think if we do one, I don't know, if something comes up, maybe you can text me and have you seen this one or something. And if scheduling is a problem somehow, maybe that'll create an opportunity to try one where you do record on your own and we just kind of roll it in or something.
Right.
Because I'm curious about that dynamic as well. But yeah, no, I definitely would. That's a great one to start with because I do know so much about the making of that movie and I've seen it so many times. That'll be really fun.
But yeah, so that was those were the three movies, and I never thought in a million years I'd ever get her to watch that movie, and now we did, and it was another one where this is why this is where one of my frustrations, and this is just a marriage frustration, right? Where
hashtag marriage frustration,
yeah, or you're just like. It's like, how many movies have I told you, that you were the first you heard them, you're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not watching that movie. I can think of at least two, probably. Well, no, if I count in that, 3 movies that I have brought up multiple times that from the first time I brought them up, I'm never going to watch that movie. Like that, those words came out of her mouth. Right.
Yeah.
And Fight Club was one of them. Silence of the Lambs was one of them. And I Know was one of them. And all 3 of them now, I've convinced her, like I've slowly just like eroded down her defenses, like persistently. And she's watched them. And after they're over, she's like, that was such a fantastic movie. You know, like Fight Club, it was a week later and she was just like, we were just sitting there talking and she was just like, out of the blue, she was just like, can you fucking believe Fight Club, man? And I'm like, I know, right? Like, it's just so great. And she's like, yeah, it is such a good movie. Like, so good. and it's just like, why do I have to work so hard to like, just take it at face value. If I'm like, no, this is a great movie, you should watch. So she has, in all fairness to her, she has started to say like I'll watch something or whatever. And she's like, do you think I would like that movie? And I'm like, and I'm getting better at like gauging that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, so, but I don't know. Now I'm like, everything I thought I knew just got thrown to the wolves with this last, her picking. I was leaning towards V for Vendetta. I hope that's what she was going to pick. Matrix was another one. She's like, yeah, I have no interest in watching The Matrix. And so then we like put The Matrix in. And I fell asleep on it. And I woke up at the end credits and she was like sitting at the edge of her seat wide-eyed, which is always a good sign. Like if she made it all the way through in one sitting in a movie.
Yeah.
Without falling asleep. And I was like, oh, did you finish it? She's like, yeah. And I was like, what'd you think? She's like, this was so awesome. And I was like, yeah, you don't have to watch the other 2 at all. No. Like, just let it be this one. Like, just know this is where the Matrix story ends. Is right. It's like with this one. So she's like, okay, I'll take it. Like, so, but yeah, that's the marriage frustration is it's like, why do I have to work so hard to get you? Why do I have to pick 3 movies? Like if I just say this is a good movie, we should watch it. It should just be that. Cause like 99% of the time it's been like, oh, that was such an awesome movie. And she has admitted where she's like, there have been more times than not where it's a movie I thought I would never like. And you convinced me to watch it. And I'm glad that I did. So
I wonder if we should, well, it probably won't always be the convincing that way, but you know, like with the Palmer's Pick Show, in the late 90s or whatever, there was a kind of ultimately a tally at some point. These were the picks. These were not the picks. I wonder if there's a way to kind of keep score in this game.
I'm sure. Like I mean, well, if it's not a pick, we'll know it's not a pick. We know that one. And I see that happening more often when it's her turn to pick the 3 movies and me to like pick one of them. I tried this just on a whim after we had thought about the idea, and she picked, I can't even remember what they were. I might have put them even actually in a note here, but we ended up picking Larry Crown, I think.
Oh, I only vaguely know what that is. I'm not sure.
It's like Julia Roberts and here, wait, let me look here and see.
I like the idea of this because it's still the old Palmer's Picks thing of the 3 movies. But what's kind of interesting is that, they're 3 picked, but only 1 agreed upon to watch and discuss. But I like the way that the others roll over. So if somebody's trying to avoid one of the movies, like I just don't wanna, eventually you're going to have to watch that movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, these were the ones that she picked. Big Daddy, which okay. Larry Crown, which was Julia Roberts and Tom Hanks. Jeez. Coming to this is the other great part about Ash is she always pulls one out of left field that you're like, what the fuck? Like, so I'm going to say the other ones because they all at least have a recurring theme, just in the sense that there's like good looking men in them, and there's something that would at least be palatable by a couple, so Big Daddy, Larry Crown, Moneyball, and Good Will Hunting. Right. So those are all like relatively okay. I can see that. And then her other pick for this group, which we did more than 3, so we'll be sure to keep it to 3, but her other pick for this group was Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. And I'm like, really? And like, have you seen that movie before? And she's like, no. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I love it. Like, it's hilarious.
So were some of those like comfort movies that you're electing to watch again together, or one of the 2 people hadn't seen them?
Well, I had seen that day I ended up picking Larry Crown because that was the only one out of that group I had not seen.
Oh, okay.
Which it was just very vanilla, like there wasn't anything like drastic to hate about it or to be like, oh, I can't believe they did this, or, what a poor casting choice was this one or whatever. But it was just like very vanilla. Like it was like a big bowl of macaroni and cheese comfort food. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Oh yeah.
You just felt like afterwards, but not like, oh my gosh, like that's an Oscar winner or anything like that. So,
and was that one that she liked, that she wanted to watch again and share with you, or?
I think she had seen it. She also does not have like the photographic memory like we have with movies, where it's like, so there are even times where she's like, I think I've seen that one. I'm not. And I'm like, how do you not know if you've seen a movie or not?
Right.
Like, like if there was a video store somewhere around here, I could walk through and be like, seen it, not seen it, seen it, not seen it, like, and go like, seen it, not seen it, seen it. In any of the sections, any of the genres, like any of I know if I've seen a movie, I've at least know that,
right?
Like,
I wish there were video stores around, and that we live close enough together to do that, because that would be such a fun YouTube feature, just in short bursts. Just go through, seen it. Haven't seen it. Oh,
and there will be more seen it, I feel like, than not haven't seen it.
Yeah,
but it's just like, there is a family video that's like 2 blocks from here, I guess. But
that's cell like phones are for, sir. Cell phone
one video. Of the last chains that are still alive.
Yeah, I've seen them now and again. I guess it should be one of the video, this sort of sharing with each other. It seems to make the most sense to have it be where one of the person is sort of advocating for the movie to share with their partner, right? But I suppose, you know, sometimes if it were just like, hey, let's try this out together, that just seems a little less interesting because there isn't the, you know, like with Palmer's Picks, the way that the movie is discussed, you know, the old TV show, I mean, the way that the movie is discussed is through the person that is familiar with it, knows about it.
Yeah.
And the way that it's kind of critiqued is through the person who's just watching it for the first time.
Oh, but this is with my wife though. We're gonna get a really good like Siskel and Ebert style like back and forth about any movie, even if neither of us have seen it to begin with. Like,
oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that. When can we do this? I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, I would really like to do. But maybe
I like.
Yeah,
that
I'll talk to her and see. This would be we're coming up to a great time that maybe that will be like our quote unquote like season finale.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need that, and I think we need Cyborg just for the closure of it all. It's gonna be, like that can't be the finale.
We've talked about Cyborg since like the first episode, right? So like, so I'll watch Cyborg, and that could be like a good like portion of the conversation leading up to that.
Yeah,
and then we'll end with like our first quote unquote like Palmer's pick, where it's like us together, and we'll do 7. Because we're coming up to a time where it's going to be nice. The holidays are going to make everything much more difficult.
Sure.
You know, like to record. So it would be a good breaking time to just start putting some stuff out and then reconvening maybe. I mean, of course we will still talk. But reconvening recording maybe after the holidays are kind of done or whatever. So
yeah, that's a good plan. And we're getting close with the artwork and the music.
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff
and
to where
I'll work on this stuff and on the artwork stuff and getting that all taken care of. And I like the idea of kind of ending on, because the Cyborg definitely has been something we've talked about since the first episode, and this bit with Ash is really like one of the bits that really has matured and come to fruition since like we've started doing this. So I like both of those.
Yeah.
Ending this quote unquote season with finally seeing both of those things coming to fruition.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, possibly if it doesn't work out, or you know, that we could always do something like with Cyborg if we don't get to that the next time we talk, which happens to be the time we record with Ash. Maybe we do it next time, but like acknowledge that so as to not end the season with Cyborg. We're recording it after or whatever. I don't know.
Well, this could be like a good like behind the scenes episode, right? Like we haven't even really done a formal intro or anything. This could be like a bonus episode at the end of the season, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a good. That's a good idea too, or like a point something, you know?
Yeah.
Because in the chronology of things, I mean, some serious shit has gone down.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It crossed my mind to like, do we cut out all the allusions to the election over time so that that's not part of it, or the story about your dad? But I think if you're, because I don't want it to make you sad, to hear these things.
Oh, no. But I mean, I like creating, and I probably have only listened to WPLMR stuff like while I was editing it. You know what I mean? Like I don't go back and look at that stuff because I was always looking at the next one. So
right, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about that at all. It's not going to make me sad.
Okay.
It's all good. Like it's created. It's like that's what it like. It's something that we've created and we've made. So that's what it is, and we just let it be. So,
awesome. Yeah. like the artwork.
Yeah.
I do go back and listen to and watch things, and I have been doing this thing as I preserve my hard drives and stuff that crashed, and then the tapes that molded we've talked about. But through doing some of that, and I'm kind of going in order so that as I post them on these sites like Vimeo or Mixcloud or all of these kind of things that so stuff can be someplace. It's nothing I'm sharing with anyone because a lot of it's like stuff I made when I was a kid. and
right.
Anyway, but so one of the things is this pump up the volume kind of inspired / imitation tape radio show that I would make right after I saw that movie in like 1992. And I called mine Mark the Narc because he is hard Harry. And so,
right.
His real name in the show is Mark, or in the movie is Mark. So, and somebody asks him at some point, he's like, "Are you a narc?" And I never heard that word. So, but so I mentioned that because so what it mostly was, I was in middle school, so I'd be like talking about in a Christian Slater like imitation, talking about my frustrations with middle school and the authority figures. And then I would play music, and it's a way I discovered some cool music like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eric Clapton just from raiding my dad's closet. But so I bring it up now because one time I did I started to try to do these like celebrity interviews, but they were a joke. So I would, using tapes and kind of primitive editing, would ask, like, I had an interview, quote unquote interview with JCVD on one of the shows, and I heard it recently. Awesome. And I would consider sharing part of it, maybe put that at the end of this episode. But part of the problem is I was 11 or 12, so there's some kind of off color, like, homophobic comment that he throws out in some action movie that I laugh at. So I'm not really proud of that now, nor do I want to share it. But I think some of it maybe. But so yeah, we would say something, and then I think I asked him about George Bush, or like, what do you think of the President George Bush? And he's like, oh shoot, I can't think of what he says. Oh, he goes, "Guy's old, crazy," and it's a clip from a movie. So it's that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
So I think if nothing else, like over time, maybe I can work up some modern reinterpretations of that to have Van Damme in on the joke, but not really in on the joke because obviously we never met.
I mean, he's working for Amazon now. You never know. We might be able to get him.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
You know how crazy that would be? Oh,
that I'm so excited that show is a reality. It was really funny. And, I'm just happy. He makes fun of himself really well. I think like better than most.
He does.
And, yeah. Have you seen that yet? The 30-minute thing?
No, I have not watched that yet. And I did watch most of when it came out. Again, in my desire to understand your love of Jean-Claude Van Damme, this was the only that I think is the root reason why I watched it, was the JCVD movie that came out where he like plays like a satirized version of him. Like it is really, he's playing himself, but like the bank robbers are there, and he's like trying to foil this robbery because he is Jean-Claude Van Damme and he can't get work, and like the little bit that I have read about this Amazon show, that's kind of like the take on the is it close to that at all?
It's much funnier. Like there are parts of that JCVD movie that are funny. But did you see enough of it to see that scene where he sits down and talks to the camera and they kind of raise him up on a platform to kind of break the third wall or fourth wall?
No.
Holy shit. Because that scene, that's what had like Time Magazine writing to like give this guy an Oscar, and they were not kidding because it's really crazy.
I have to watch that.
Yeah, you got to see at least that scene, I think. I was considering playing it, but I know we're coming up against your dinner prep time stuff too, and I don't think it's
I got to make
scene.
dinner.
But yeah,
and I still want to talk about Stephen King, and
that's right.
You mentioned Christian Slater, and that made me remember too that I got Ash to watch Interview with a Vampire, which is like a horror movie, and
with some kind of sexy business in it too.
Oh man, like I forgot how homoerotic. Like I realized when I was like 16, 17 when that movie came out. I was not naive enough to not get the like homoeroticism then, right? But now watching it as a 36, like it is really homoerotic. Like they are.
Oh yeah.
They were banging. Like there is no denying the banging that was happening. And I mean, of course, it's like Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt and Antonio Banderas is in there.
Oh, even sure is. Point. Yeah.
Like, Man,
And
like they
that's
were
where
just
it's
all
really
begging.
obvious that like, because Antonio Banderas, like he wants that character of
Yes,
Louis.
yeah.
And,
He wants, and to the point that he's willing to like burn his entire coven, like
Right.
let them all go down just
Yeah.
so he can get him. You know,
Can't say I blame him.
Oh no, not at all. But I mean, he could have theoretically spent centuries with them, and they like he built that coven of, of vampires. You know, like so.
Ooh, that makes me want to watch that movie. I really liked that movie when it came out. I mean, I still probably like it, but I read the books and stuff, and I read it up to the book that is about the character Antonio Banderas plays, the vampire Armand, maybe it's called.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it gets really just like explicitly homoerotic is an understatement. And so I was just like, oh man, and I think I was in my early 20s. I just couldn't quite handle it, so I had to stop. But I'm a big fan of that movie. It came out in November. I'm looking at November 11th, 1994, and we're talking on November 16th now.
Whoa, that's crazy. Yeah,
2016.
And that was the year of 94. That was like the Pulp Fiction year.
That's sort of my 1999 as we discussed in episode 1. So I have a lot of fond memories from this time of year watching that movie.
The first time I ever watched a DVD was that movie at your house.
Oh,
and
really?
I remember.
Oh, wow.
At your folks' house.
Right,
and you had a DVD player, and I remember you turned it on, like you had to pause it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew my mind that it was like crystal clear when it was paused.
I know exactly that feeling. Yeah.
And like, I remember like, holy shit, like you just paused that? Like that's it paused? And you're like, yeah, man, it's DVD. It's crazy, right? It's digital.
I know, it's wild. Yeah, because like laserdiscs would literally, and I remember 1997 was when I got that DVD player for graduation. My dad bought it my dad had been telling me like, they're going to have these things in the size of a CD. My dad, meanwhile, who's very smart in general, but he had told me this thing about CDs, them being indestructible when they came out.
Yeah.
And I think in terms of comparing that to like the fragility of vinyl, okay, but anyway, so now he's telling me like leading up to that there's going to be, because I was buying laser discs and stuff, he's like, they're going to be on the size of CDs, and I was like, okay, yeah, and then they'll be indestructible, Dad. I just didn't believe him. And
oh, that's awesome.
And then he presents me, with the DVD player as a graduation gift from high school, and it blew my mind. And there were so few movies available for it at first.
Yeah,
and they were like, they seemed to all be, at least the ones I got, were Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise movies. There was Jerry Maguire, Legends of the Fallen, Interview with the Vampire.
Yep.
But yeah, so buying Laserdisc, they would be, I think it's CV. Oh shoot, I can't remember the acronym, but it basically meant a higher quality and or maybe just specifically and only whether or not you could pause the image and have it see it. Otherwise, you would pause the image and you get a blue screen.
Right.
But it mean the difference between like a double album or a single disc, and you'd have to turn them over and all this. So this DVD thing was revolutionary. But so we got off track, and you do have to make dinner. So we should steam. I do. Oh, I got a little King Corner. Just a couple things more.
What do you got?
Comments.
Honey, come on over here, sugar buns. This machine just called me an asshole.
I am up to
an asshole.
Right.
You gotta say an asshole.
That's actually really good.
All through your nose.
So I am on book 2, chapter 45 of the extended edition, and then I have the practice of going back to the printed text, and I like to get the period specific. So I have this. It doesn't have the dust jacket, which makes me crazy.
Oh man, yeah.
From 1978, and I've been having a hell of a time like finding where I'm at. And then I looked into it a little bit more, and it's because in the original edition, chapter 45 is actually correlates to chapter 36. So there's quite a bit more.
Yeah. Because you're in the you're listening to the updated edition, right?
Yeah. And today I just ordered a pretty new edition or a new quality period accurate edition for the 1990 or whatever that was published.
Awesome.
But it's interesting, like with the updates, because it took me a while to put together. I think one of the first things that catch me was like a reference to Predator, the movie. And I was like, wait a second. Yeah. So like everything is shifted up or forward 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I was just introduced to the old lady in the rocking chair that everybody dreams about.
Okay. So I won't be spoiling this then, because the big difference that I heard between the two editions was it's right after things just kind of finish going to shit, basically.
Okay.
With the plague, and he goes through a series of just deaths that happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
that was very striking.
And that's not in the original at all. Because like there's like the heroin addict who breaks into his dealer's house and finds his heroin, and because it's a much higher grade, it hadn't been cut with anything yet. He like overdosed on like the whole segment is just how many survivors died of stupid reasons because they were, there was nobody else around. So
right. And like
he overdosed because it was like too high quality of a heroin, and like that little kid like falls in a well or something like that, and nobody's there to pull him out. So he dies of like down in that thing. And that was a bit. And then there's you've met the Trash Can Man, right? They've introduced him by now.
Yeah.
There's an elongated section of him that was not in the original that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, I remember that from it's been a little while since I heard it, but it definitely stuck with me.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because this is the first time I'm encountering it, so I can't imagine it without these things, but it's interesting to know what is additional, to know what that would be kind of experience-wise leaving out, which is in those two cases kind of significant, impactful stuff, I think.
Absolute. Well, and just the sense that if you look at you have the original edition of that book and how big it was. Yeah. That's why he cut them out. Like, right. And I think that was his publisher was just like, Stephen King, one of the things I admire about him the most is, especially with his audiobooks, he does not do abridgments because he wrote it. It's going to be in there. That's what
it was edited and all that stuff too. It's not like it's just off the top of the head.
Right. And so that's one of the things that like when with these updated editions where it's like to know how hard that probably was for him to cut these things out, like, and to take them out of the book. But because he's such a great archiver, like he had all of that stuff to do an updated edition. I'm interested to see how much bigger.
Oh, physically,
physically bigger the updated edition is, because it's all. I mean, the original edition I think goes up to like 1,100 or 1,200 pages, which.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward to once we get kind of publishing the shows to doing I guess it'd be like the Twitter feed or maybe the blog or something. I think Twitter might be the easiest because, so we mentioned the Van Damme scene. I can tweet a link of it. And, And we talk about the editions of the book and I can take pictures and measure it and stuff. So 823 pages.
Oh, 823. So maybe the updated is the one that breaks 1,000, but it's just the idea of, that's great.
Yeah, and I've really, it's, now people are starting, the first few people have started to meet, and so that's all kind of starting to come together to where it's a little less disparate. And, it's interesting, too, I was caught by, there's in a pretty short span of time, once they, especially once the musician starts to kind of venture out of New York City and stuff, there was at least 4 mentions of the phrase, the Walking Dead.
Oh, really?
And it feels similar in terms of some of the construction of like these different people coming together in these small groups and people, the apocalyptic vibe of it, but also some of the interpersonal things and sort of archetypes a little bit. I don't know. It seems like it strikes me as something that would have been, this is likely an influence on Robert Kirkman. There's this one character in particular, I feel like you got the name from. I have to look into that. But because I think it's like the Kirkman thing in that series, comics and otherwise, is like what happens after the end of like one of the George Romero movies that we see. It's like what happens to these people as this sort of world is all there is left, and so maybe that's the similar part. And because I don't know where this goes, maybe that's why it's that's in the forefront of my mind now, because it's in this certain stage of the story that I'm only halfway through.
No, I think that's a very astute observation, and definitely can see the influence that something like this would have had. I mean, well, and it just goes back to, it's what I've always said about zombie movie, why I like the zombie genre so much, is it's not the zombies. They're the catalyst, right? Like, yeah. It's all about how the people that are left interact with each other. That really, I mean, like 28 Days Later, Larry, it's funny how often he comes up in these conversations, but
because movies, especially. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then that's what it is. But Larry, had really made me think about 28 Days Later when we went and saw it on opening night. And he's like, you knew when they finally meet up with those last people at the end who are supposed to be protecting them, you knew that's when things were going to get the worse than they had been for the whole rest of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's just any of those genres. Like I think like Captain Trips is like the catalyst that just brings these people who otherwise would not have been together. And now we need to find out what's really interesting. The meat and potatoes of the story is how that plays out, them interacting with each other, not the apocalypse piece that brought them together, Yeah,
that's the MacGuffin, as they would say in a Hitchcockian sense, where it's like there's that thing, I can't remember that's an example of the definition. I can't think what the definition is. I'll look it up, but it's the backdrop against which the drama plays out, but you need that.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if for no other reason, then that's the same thing with The Walking Dead, is that it's not the zombies, especially anymore. At least as far as I watched, it wasn't the zombies. It was the people.
Yeah.
That like made it.
I found the definition here of MacGuffin. It's an object or device in a movie or book that serves merely as a trigger for the plot.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So
fancy movie terms.
So you'll start to. I'm just interested to see how you go through the rest of the stand. I do have to wrap up here pretty quick, but I'll.
Yeah. What's your you'd mentioned the King Corner before I did.
Oh yeah, I am reading. This is the second time I've been through this before, but Full Dark No Stars, which is.
Oh yeah, you've mentioned that a few times actually.
And man, is it just like the title finally like struck with like this time through. I finally like clued into the title is like he's warning you with that title. Like there's nothing redeemable about these stories. Like
that's what I sort of suspected from what you told me about it, because I never heard that expression, full dark, and it's kind of an exciting one. But it's a great title, but it's just like these are. And the no stars is there's no even like glimmer of hope that there's going to be something redeemable by like I'm dealing with my own demons right now, like not just my dad, but like dealing with depression right now, and started seeing a counselor and all that stuff, and I'm listening to this book and I'm just like, oh, this is just like, so it's the first. And I mean, and I'll be the first one to admit, like Stephen King is hard to swallow for one reason or another, depending on what your tastes are in a novel. Right. And this is seriously like through Pet Sematary and The Stand and all of these, like the Dark Tower series, all of that, like this one book is the one where I'm just like, oh,
every story, I'm just like, this is so terrible. Like, it's just so bleak. Bleak is like I was trying to explain it to Ash, and that was the word I just kept coming to, is like, even the ones that there's a couple stories that end not wanting you to like slit your wrists. But even those ones are still bleak. Like the main character, the like protagonist that ends up winning like they're supposed to in a story is still so drastically different by the end of it that they have still lost something in themselves. And yeah, the title finally like sunk in this time listening to it, of just like, he is full on warning you, like, you're not going to like any of these. Like, you're not, like, they're well written, they're genius, they're really good. 2 of them got made into movies from this collection of short stories. But man, yeah. And the 2 that got made are like the 2 horrendous ones. Well, 2 of the more horrendous ones. And the themes that they like cover in them are just, oh yeah. I mean, without spoiling any of them, but they're just like, yeah, it is like, this is the first one out of all of the audiobooks I've listened to, which have been a lot. The first one where I'm like, I just want this to be over. You know what? Like, I just wanted to like, I just want to be able to check this one off the list. And I'm still like listening to the stories. Like, I'm going to go down and make dinner here in a second. Yeah. And I'm going to put my iPod on because I want to hear the rest of the story. Like, that's the rub, you know, like, you want to finish it. But
have you listened to this one before? Or is this in a chronology, or are you returning to it right now because it's sort of
this is the continuation of the like, so I wanted to go, when I decided to go through him chronological order, I would listen to him even if I had already listened to him before.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So like, they fit in, which you're going to start to really see it. I started to notice it a lot when you started getting into the 80s. You'll see character names spill over from one book to the next. You'll see, even if the characters are not the same person, you'll just be, and now I'm to the point where I'm like, wow, he really likes this name. He really likes that name. You know what I mean? Like, because there's always going to be somebody named that person. And then you start to wonder like who that person is in his real life that he keeps putting them in the book,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And phrases, those are more from book to book. Where he'll use a phrase over, and you can tell when he was on a burst, right? And the phrase got stuck in his head because you'll hear it come up over and over again.
Yeah, like The Walking Dead.
Like The Walking Dead. So like so like you've already noticed some of them.
And in Full Dark, he uses that expression throughout his work from the very beginning, and I was caught by it even before, or you maybe told me that title. It's just, I never heard that expression, and it was very evocative. But this one it falls in the chronology of where you are right now. It's
that's where I'm at. So like,
that's where you're at.
I finished Under the Dome, and I thought 11/22/63 was going to be my next one, but it wasn't. It ended up being, there was one where it was like it was like 2 little novellas put together. And I forget the name of that. And then Full Dark, No Stars, and then 11/22/63. And then I'll have to start like seeking out like the next, that's as far as I got. I haven't read anything. It'll be the first time for me going through. I've already gone through 11/22/63. I've already gone through Full Dark, No Stars. A lot of the 2000s, actually, a lot of the 90s and the 2000s, I had already gone through at some point. And really it was The Dark Tower that did that, because you just start to devour other King's works if you become a Dark Tower fan, because once he realized all of his works were tied to those 7 books in some way, he really like works them in well. So like the connections really well.
Oh, cool. So much to look forward to, but man, what a tough book to be listening to during a particularly, I mean, it feels pretty full dark right now for all of us, and for you in particular. And for sure we should talk about it more sometime, but I know you got to cook.
Yeah, I got to cook. So, but it is, it's been a great, like, this will make a good, like season 1 ending. Like,
okay, yeah.
I will work on getting a logo together. Let me talk to Ash and see if we can work out a time between the three of us that we can record something, maybe early next week, where we can do that, and then we'll talk about Cyborg.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm so ready to talk about Cyborg.
Yeah.
I literally have had it up on my, just in case, because I didn't know. I mean, I know you've been going through some terrible stuff, but I don't know if you can see, I actually had it up on my iPad from the Wikipedia.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Just thinking it might come around to it. And actually, I watched RoboCop. I actually kind of watched that the week that your dad passed, because I was thinking about you and I didn't know what I could do or say. And somehow in my weird twisted brain is like, and I didn't tell you about it because I was like, you know, you're going through the worst time of your life. I'm like, watching RoboCop, buddy, for you.
Oh my gosh, you're watching. So we won't talk about it, but I just need to know, like, did you like it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. It was so great.
Oh my gosh. It's like, that just ended up in a Cracked article that I read the other day, where like the shot where he walks by and catches the keys took like a full day of shooting just to get that one.
Oh, wow.
Because like,
I bet he couldn't
the
see
keys, just like he couldn't see. And then, so he kept missing them. And then when he would get close, his gloves were rubber, so they would just like bounce off of that. And, but it took like an ungodly amount of time to shoot that one shot of him catching the keys as he walked by.
We'll have to talk about it. I took notes, as I always do. I've been watching some other stuff too, so trying to distract myself from, you know, the realities that are sometimes unavoidable.
Oh yeah, I went to the movies like twice in the last week. So saw Doctor Strange and then saw The Arrival last night.
Okay, cool.
Which I would recommend both of them. They were both great.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm largely open for stuff. So, and I'm excited to get back to this. I realized when, you know, there are obvious reasons why we haven't recorded for 3 weeks, but, last week, the day after whatever the election, at some point I just found myself, I carry around these notebooks, these little kind of pocket notebooks, and mostly I make, you know, one other quick notebook thing is this has been my long walk short drink notebook. And nice. I purposely picked something that had something on the cover because I knew at some point there's going to be a logo I can put over top of that. So
that's spectacular.
Today's the day I saw what that could be. But anyway, I was so upset about the whole thing in the election and what it revealed about, you know, the climate of our country, that I filled one of these fuckers. And I just wrote how I was feeling, what happened over the days. And I think in the back of my mind, it was some kind of substitute for being able to talk with you in these ways. And at first I thought maybe I'd read it on the show. Now it's just way too long and all that stuff. But I think that was what was in my head. So I've missed this. I've missed you, and I'm excited to get back to it.
Me too, buddy. Like I said, I want to get back on the horse. So it'll be nice. I like our game plan. Like I like, you know, taking whatever time to finish up these little things over the next couple of months and just kind of getting this season rolling.
Yeah,
and then
take a holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. But
hiatus.
I will talk to Ash and we'll be in touch about next week, and we'll get something worked out where we can sit down and talk about the pick. So
yeah.
Awesome, man.
All right, brother. Well, I love you, and I'm thinking about you a lot, especially right now. So I hope things each day gets a little easier, or at least that there aren't too many tough ones in a row.
Yeah, no, both of those things are true, are getting more true every day. So I know it's cliche, but time does heal everything. So we'll get through this. We'll get through it. But all right, man, I love you too. And I will talk to you soon. I'll get this loaded up.
All right. Well, be well and reach out anytime.